Perfect. Thank you so much, ma'am. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay, Matt. Bye.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for tuning in this morning with our Workforce Wednesday live session. We are happy to be back with the Workforce Center's Kentucky Chamber Workforce Center Foundation Bus to Business program this year. My name is Harper Smith, and I'm the Senior Manager of the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce Foundation, and I help direct our Bus to Business program. First, I want to thank our sponsors this year, the Kentucky Society for Human Resource Management, or Kentucky SHRM, for their continued investment in helping to bring classrooms to careers. And I'd also like to thank our next sponsor, the Kentucky Community and Technical College, or KCTCS. They are a new sponsor this year, and we have some exciting programming coming up with them this year, but we are excited to hear from a couple of them today. Today will be a maritime focused panel. We have some speakers from different maritime employers across the state and country, actually, and we have a really great video about the maritime industry that we're excited to share and hear from a panel of those employers later on. But this morning, first of all, we'll hear from some folks with KCTCS. So Kevin and Barry and Ron, if you all want to go ahead, and I will get you all, if you could turn your cameras on, I'll make sure. Yes, here we go. So I will kick it over to you three once I get this all.
Thank you, Harper. We appreciate the opportunity this morning. I'm Kevin O'Neill, the Vice President of Regional Workforce Training and Economic Development here at West Kentucky Community and Technical College in Paducah, Kentucky. West Kentucky Community and Technical College is unique in that we do offer not only workforce training in the maritime industry, but we also have an academic program that encompasses an associate's degree. So what we're going to do this morning is going to be, we're going to be sharing information on the academic side, what that program looks like, and then we will go back over into the workforce side of things. So what we do is on a regular basis to provide the much needed training for maritime industry. Got two gentlemen this morning. Ron Robbins. Ron is the program coordinator for the Marine Technology program here at West Kentucky Community and Technical College. He is going to kick off the information on the academic side. And then after he completes that, we're going to move over to Barry Carter, who is a Marine workforce liaison. Barry is responsible for working with our companies out there, designing and working with them on training needs. And then then after that, we'll move back. Barry and I'll kind of tag team about the Maritime Center of Excellence designation that we are very happy to say that we were identified as being one of 27 new awardees of that distinction. So right now, though, I'm going to kick it over to Ron. And Ron, if you would, go ahead and share the program academically. And after that, Barry, just pick up with workforce. Thank you.
I just wanted to talk a little bit about the career opportunities. I know that the industry representatives may go into this in more detail, but there are career opportunities both on vessels and shore. On vessels, there are in pilot house, the people driving the boats, deck, the people who are working with the tows and maintenance, the engine room for those that are working in the propulsion and auxiliary plants. And of course, there on some boats, they do have cooks to provide the food. As far as West Kentucky Community Technical College's educational opportunities, we have a program with both associates and applied sciences degrees with 4 tracks. The 4 tracks are wheelhouse management, marine engineering, marine logistics operations, and marine culinary management. Each of these is a regular associate's degree with many courses that pertain to the different fields, management, leadership, and as well as the maritime topics. Also, if someone desires to just get a certificate, which does not include electives and other courses like that, they can get certificates for marine industry, marine technology business, marine engineering, and marine culinary. All of those can not only prepare someone who is interested in a career in the marine industry, but also as people go through their careers, they may want to become more well-rounded and be able to, with a degree, have greater opportunity for advancement or transfer to other areas within the industry, from vessel to shore or from deck into the pilot house or the engine room. So there are a lot of different opportunities that increased education can provide individuals to help them further their careers. Barry, I guess I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Ron. Can you hear me? Okay. It was interesting last week. We had a chamber breakfast, and one of the things that was brought up by CEO of Crowns Corporation was that a student can graduate high school, go to work for a living wage in the Inland Marine Towing Company, and in short time, within 4 or 5 months, advance his career to where he's probably making upwards of 6 figures a year. So these jobs that we are educating and helping employees move into are very well and very good paying jobs. Our program, we tend to focus more on the existing existing employee. We have a very robust program where they can upgrade their licenses to become chief engineers, become pilots, become captains on the towboat. We offer 10 United States Coast Guard approved courses, all the way from basic marine firefighting all the way to the advanced marine firefighting. And we offer online tankerman programs, as well as all 3 of the inland radar programs that those folks would need. So Paducah is a river town. We're located in one of the best areas for river traffic. And We really like being able to provide this service to employees and employers alike so that they can get the most productivity out of their employees. One thing that we're unique about, and Kevin touched on it a little bit, is we can tailor fit any training to the company's needs. We have a company out of Louisiana that comes up a couple of times a year. We do a Marine engineer boot camp where we train them on everything from diesel mechanics all the way to basic safety or basically, and they're up here for 28 days to kickstart their career. We're on the website. If you can check out the things that we offer. I'll turn it back over. That's all I've got.
Thanks, Barry and Ron. One bit of trivia that I think everybody I've always been a little amazed by is, and I was here when in a different role at the time that this took place, but back before 2010, we were doing a lot of cooks training. That's how we began some of our work in the marine industry, and it was driven by insurance companies because historically, a lot of the cooking that goes on the boat, of course, it's home cooking, the fried foods, and all the cakes and so on. And of course, they were finding incidents more of blood pressure, diabetes, and so on. So we began doing some cooks training, and little did we know that cooks training would eventually evolve into a academic program of all the listings that Ron mentioned. And our programs were actually approved by our Board of Regents in 2010. The program on the academic side is all online, which makes it very beneficial to the current, those that are employed. I mean, they can get online anywhere now. It seems like the connectivity is improving all the time, so they can take courses and complete, with very little problem of getting access to the online course. We are working where we can to continue to build those online courses, and like Ron or Barry mentioned, we have the Tankerman online course, and wherever applicable, we're gonna continue to have and have online courses. We're doing that across other sectors. It just is very convenient. It helps them, again, the employee or the worker, maybe unemployed that wants to upscale. They can do that online much easier than coming here to Paducah. We do mention the culinary training. We were able to expand our training facility through another grant at one time in about 2016 to have 6 galley labs set up. So it's as close to what a galley would look like on a vessel. Of course, the only thing we can't mimic would be maybe motion of the vessel, but that'd be hard to replicate. But it really has been it was a good start, and it's hard to believe that it all began from that. A little bit about the Maritime Center of Excellence. This was awarded to us in spring of 2021, May actually of 21. It was a 4-year process because these designations had never existed before. So what the Maritime Center of Excellence designation means is that it identifies the value of an institution providing in training and developing careers in the maritime industry and workforce training. So we checked all the boxes. So I knew that we would certainly qualify. So we were awarded this. We're one of 27 designated across the country, to include Guam, which I think is kind of interesting because, if we, and we are the only inland waterway college that has this designation. And when this was first introduced by a representative out in Texas. Of course, they're blue water. So as soon as that was introduced, I immediately noticed and saw that as we saw the announcement going forward on that bill, that there was nothing for inland waterways. And we all know around here, and certainly other states across the country that's on the inland waterway system, this is a very important, very vital part of the transportation industry. And so we were able to get that introduced and got that into the bill, and it ultimately passed. Now, this was awarded through MARAD, Department of Transportation, and the expectations for us are really what we do now. They support workforce needs of local. We are supposed to support workforce needs of local, state, and regional economy, which we do. We build on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math competencies. We promote diversity and inclusion, a broad-based curriculum of stackable credentials, which Barry alluded to and Ron could attest to. We're also now, one thing that we're really working hard toward is getting the credit for prior learning. It's very important that for those that have been in the industry for years, and this doesn't matter with any sector, this applies, but getting credit for prior learning is very important. We also engage or collaborate with our maritime industry, which we do, employers, and then there's just some other activities that we are expected to do. Now, the great value for being this designation, which helps us a lot, is that we have the opportunity to have surplus equipment from the Department of Transportation and MARAD to donate. We have temporary use of vessels and assets that they have. We can subject matter experts. So, in order to elevate our program even more, whether it's on the academic side or the workforce side, this designation, it took a long time. 4 years is a long time to stay at it, but I'm a stubborn Irishman, and I knew that we were gonna succeed. So we're looking forward to greater days ahead. Naturally, COVID has affected things a little, but one thing about it, it really did not affect. And I think the gentlemen and ladies that you're going to hear from may speak to this, but in the maritime industry, it wasn't really affected like some of the brick and mortar businesses and companies in the country. So with that, I'm going to kick it back over to Harris or Harper, and we'll just stay on board for Q&A later.
Great. Thank you so much, Kevin and Barry and Ron. It sounds like you all have some great resources and programs within WCTC. So thank you all very much. I now will go ahead and share our video from Riverworks Discovery about the Maritime panel. Let me get my screen shared.
Hello everyone, Jared McGovern here with the National Mississippi River Museum and Aquarium and Riverworks Discovery, coming to you from the banks of the Mississippi River right here in good old Dubuque, Iowa. You are here today participating in a program of Riverworks Discovery and the National Rivers Hall of Fame, which is part of the National Mississippi River Museum and Aquarium. This is a national outreach program that is dedicated to teaching and inspiring people about the cultures, commerce, and conservation on America's navigable rivers. Rivers where you're going to be seeing these big boats carrying commodities from all over the world. Riverworks Discovery is also passionate about careers, and careers that are in conservation, careers that are in commerce, and these careers have a special culture. You were going to have the opportunity to meet some of the people that make America's rivers work. And you were going to learn about different careers that you can get involved in through your high school career and post-high school education. So today, have fun, ask questions, learn something new, meet a new friend, and we hope that you are inspired to become a steward of America's 12,000 miles of navigable waterways, and hopefully you will find a career today that just might be right for you.
Hello, everyone. We hope you're ready to learn a little bit, or even a lot, about the marine transportation industry. Since we will be covering a lot of ground, we want to encourage you to write down any questions you may have, and we will have a panel of industry representatives at the end of this segment that will be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Coming up first, we have Dr. Terrence James from Vicksburg Warren School District, and he's going to talk to you about how the maritime industry just might be the right choice for you.
Hello, students across the nation. I am Terrence James, the Career and Technical Administrator with Vicksburg Warren School District, located in Vicksburg, Mississippi. You may be asking yourself, why am I here listening to a recording about Riverworks Discovery? Well, I have an answer for you. Because you will need a job in the future to take care of yourself, your parents, your spouse, and your children. You may even have to take care of your annoying siblings who constantly nag you all the time. In order to do so, you will need a good paying job that can support your family needs, and the Riverworks Discovery Outreach is here to help you. Some of you are already preparing yourself for future careers where you can gain employment with the river industry. If you are taking career and technical education courses or vocational courses such as welding, auto mechanics, culinary arts, marketing, engineering, and more, the river industry provides career opportunities for you. Regardless if you decide to stop your schooling at the end of your high school, community college, or college years, there are all types of careers for you, such as accountants, lawyers, human resources, journalists, forklift operators, electricians, and more. The industry also offers opportunities with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Coast Guard, Navy, and other federal agencies. The river offers a vast array of career opportunities for everyone, and we will dive in depth later. You will constantly be working through new and interesting challenges, whether you are on a boat, dock, driving a crane, or inspecting a vessel for safety. Each day brings new and interesting challenges. No 2 days are the same. You will not be bored with these careers. Who wants to have a career where every day is the same? I don't. The river and inland transportation industry wants to develop your career. If you put forth a good effort, in 4 to 6 years, the companies represented here today will provide the training and certifications you need to make anywhere from $50,000 to $150,000 a year. $150,000 a year. That's more than my wife and I make together. I can support my family and your family with that amount of money. Think about all the dreams you have about going to Disneyland, buying a new car, buying your parents a new house, or even traveling the world. You could live your dreams and somebody else's dreams. Does this get your attention? Great. We want to help you invest in yourself. This industry provides opportunities that will afford you and your family a great life. Take a look around. Don't you want to do better? Well, I'm glad you do. Today, you will learn a lot. First, you will learn about the importance of waterborne transportation. Why do we need to be able to transport products up and down a river? Then we could transport goods by railroad or 18-wheelers. Stay tuned and we'll learn together. Secondly, you will learn about the importance of rivers. Why do we need rivers to survive? Thirdly, you will learn about the diversity of careers. There are all types of careers that men and women have an opportunity to pursue. Ladies, this is for you too. Lastly, you will learn about career paths on the river. All right, let's get started.
Thanks, Dr. T. Isn't it amazing that no matter where you live, you could land a maritime job that could give you endless possibilities?
I myself started my career as a deckhand and was taken back by the size of the barges and the tremendous amount of tonnage that they can hold. And it still confuses me today as to how they can float with all that heavy cargo. And unlike land-based modes of transportation, boats, barges, and ships can seem out of sight and out of mind. So you'll actually be surprised at how many people the industry employs.
Up next, we're going to watch a video featuring Vanessa Breslin from Canal Barge Company. and she's going to give you an in-depth look into some interesting facts and figures surrounding the maritime industry.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Breslin, and I work with Canal Barge Company. Today, I'm going to discuss a couple of the slides on the Riverworks Discovery presentation. First, start with some of the industry facts. The tugboat, towboat, and barge industry is the largest segment of the U.S. domestic maritime industry. So what does that mean? It employs more than 33,000 American mariners aboard its vessels. The nation's domestic maritime industry is an economic engine and job creator. This is all the shoreside and support jobs working to keep the boats working. 500,000 jobs and $100 billion in economic input. The single largest commodity that moves on the U.S. waterways is petroleum. 244 million tons is moved annually. Water transportation plays a critical role in facilitating the nation's trade. 60% of U.S. grain exports and 20% of U.S. coal. Efficient, economical, and environmental transportation. Barge transportation of goods is the single most efficient, economic, and environmental choice for transporting freight. 1 gallon of fuel can move 1 ton of cargo farther than any other mode of transportation. 1 gallon of fuel equals 647 ton miles. Rail, 1 gallon of fuel equals 477 ton miles. And truck, 1 gallon of fuel equals 145 ton miles. So how much cargo can a boat move? Boats can push very large groups of barges called tows. A typical tow size for a boat moving in a single area is around 15 barges. How much cargo is in 15 barges? Anyone want to take a guess? So 15 barge tow equals 240 rail cars, which is the same as 1,050 trucks. 25 barge tow equals 400 rail cars, which is the same as 1,750 trucks. Fun fact, one ship holds approximately 55 barges worth of cargo. So one barge equals 16 rail cars, which equals 70 trucks. 55 barges equals 880 rail cars, which equals 3,850 trucks. If you lined up these trucks, they would be 204,050 feet long, or 38.5 miles long. Think about how long you'd have to wait for a train that size to go by. What about the traffic that all those trucks on the road would create? World seaborne trade. So globally, 10.7 billion tons of goods are shipped on oceans, river, lakes, and canals each year. So let's blow your mind. How do you picture 10.7 billion tons? 1,813 Great Pyramids of Giza, 32,326 Empire State Buildings, 434,959 Statues of Liberty, 68,589,743 average U.S. households, or 6,476,997,578 cars. It's a lot. Commodities. This list of cargoes is a snapshot of what can be moved on the waterways. Everything from coal to corn likely originated on a ship or barge before coming to your local Walmart or being used to build your car. Diversified cargo mix. Here are a few pictures of what these cargoes look like when they are in their shipping form. These cargoes, sometimes called commodities, are the ingredients for the products we use in our everyday lives. Using the raw cargo and changing it into a useful product is what powers the construction, automotive, technology, energy, and agricultural industries of the United States and the world. Thank you very much for your time and attention.
I hope you were just as amazed as I was when I first saw these numbers.
So, I want you to take a look at the world around you right now. I'm sure you're seeing ceiling lights, a laptop computer, or even a dry erase board. Have you ever wondered where the materials these items are made from come from?
In this next video, Namdi Esma from Associated Terminals is going to explain how everyday items, including the chair you're sitting in right now, was most likely transported by river or sea?
Hi, my name is Namdi Ezano, and I'm a business analyst here at Associated Terminals. You guys have learned a lot of cool stuff today. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about global shipping. The maritime transport is the backbone of global trade and the global economy. The international shipping industry is responsible for the transport of around 90% of world trade. Without shipping, the bulk transport of raw materials and the import and export of affordable food, manufactured goods, and other products would not be possible. No country is entirely self-sufficient, and every country relies on maritime trade to sell what it makes and to buy what it needs. Much of what we use or consume in our everyday lives either has been or will be transported by sea in the form of raw materials, components, or finished articles. Over 10.7 billion tons of cargo are imported and exported annually via ocean vessels worldwide. This map shows many of the ports that are important for global trade and the maritime industry. The Cape of Good Hope in South Africa, for example, is the central point of transport between Asia and Europe. So many of the cargoes and goods that go from Asia or to Asia from Europe have to pass through the Cape of Good Hope. For the Panama Canal in Central America, of all the cargoes that travel through there, 62% of that either originated from the US or will be transported to the US. There are over 55,000 merchant ships trading internationally, transporting every kind of cargo. The world fleet is registered in over 150 nations. On average, a container ship travels a distance equivalent of 75% of the way to the moon and back, and that's in a single year. The world's largest container ships can carry a staggering amount of cargo. A modern container ship, for example, can hold up to 745 million bananas. To put that in perspective, that's roughly one banana for every person in Europe and North America. Let's talk about the transportation of goods. An import or export will be transported from its point of origin via rail, truck, or barge to a port where it will be loaded onto an ocean-going vessel. The ocean-going vessel will follow established maritime shipping routes. The ship will travel to a port which is near the final destination for the product, where it will then be transported via rail, truck, or barge. In the US, 500 million tons are either imported or exported through the Mississippi River. And for the country, there are over 3 billion tons that will be imported or exported via ocean-going vessels.
Isn't that crazy to think that normal day-to-day items could have traveled these vast waters? How about let's follow along on the journey of how a 16-ounce tub of Ben & Jerry's ice cream makes it to your local grocery store freezer.
All right, let's talk about one of my favorite things in the whole world, ice cream. Specifically, Ben & Jerry's. My favorite flavor has to be Chunky Monkey, right? Like, is there even any other flavor? What about you? What's your favorite flavor? So when you get to the ice cream aisle and you're looking for some Ben & Jerry's ice cream, have you ever asked yourself, where do all the ingredients to give me this pint of ice cream come from? Well, let's do a quick little research project. Ben & Jerry's produces ice cream in several different countries, such as Israel and the Netherlands. Their first factory and their main factory is the one in Vermont. But they get their ingredients from all over the world. And those little ingredients have to be imported by ocean-going vessels or by truck or rail to their factory in Vermont. Let's start from the outside and work our way in. What about the paper that makes the pint? Where do you think that paper comes from? Would you be surprised if I told you it came from Canada and has to be transported by truck or rail to their Vermont factory? What about the coffee-flavored ice creams? Where do you think the coffee and that raw material comes from? Or if I told you it had to be transported by ship from Mexico up to the New York port and then by truck to their Vermont factory? What about the sugar that's in that ice cream that gives it that sweet, sweet flavor? Where do you think that came from? Well, that came from Belize and had to travel through the Panama Canal to the New York port and then be transported to the Vermont factory. Same thing with the bananas. Where do you think those bananas came from? Well, those were imported from Ecuador. And the list goes on. What about the vanilla flavor that's in so many different ice creams? Where do you think the raw vanilla came from? And how do you think it got to their Vermont factory? Well, that had to be imported from Madagascar and Uganda and likely traveled through the port of Cape Hope on its way to the New York port to then be transported to their Vermont factory. What about the milk? The most important ingredient in making ice cream. Where do you think they got their milk from? Likely, some of it was made here in the US and had to be transported to Vermont via truck or rail. But some of it was also transported from the Netherlands and had to be transported by ships from Europe to New York and then by truck to their Vermont factory. So you see, even the simplest things that we find in our grocery stores come from all over the world. And Maritime just plays a very key role in our everyday lives. I hope you enjoy the rest of this presentation and that you've learned so much today.
Well, I have to admit, that made me a little hungry.
Up next, we will have Holly Norman from Ingram Barge Company give you some insight on all the moving parts that logistically go into transporting the world's resources via ship, rail, and barges, and help keep a healthy global economy.
Hi, I'm here to talk about global transportation and logistics. It is a big job making all of these cargoes and commodities get loaded in the proper place and order. Logistics is a career that manages the movement of the supply chain. An example of how products might move from China to the United States is illustrated here. It all starts in the overseas ports. Here, products are gathered from factories and farmlands and put into container or bulk hold tanks and ships. Then the ships move the products, following established shipping routes to destinations across the globe. Once the ship has arrived at its destination port, cranes and digging ladders are used to move the products from the ship into the barges or other holding facilities. Cargoes such as tennis shoes and household goods are often transported in containers. The product is then transported via barge, rail, or truck to other locations for processing or distribution to be consumed by the public. For example, tennis shoes might travel via truck to the Walmart distribution center, and steel may travel by rail to an automotive plant to make a Ford car. So let's talk about products that originate in the US. The process is the reverse cycle of our tennis shoe example. Cargoes such as soybean, corn, or wheat are products that are produced in the United States. These cargoes travel via barge, rail, or truck. Cargoes that travel by barge utilize the inland waterway system to get to points where they can be loaded to ocean vessels to be distributed all over the world. Now let's talk about the global importance of shipping. In many cases, a country will specialize in a certain manufacturing process or agricultural product, focusing their efforts into creating that one product. This specialization enables global trade. Instead of each country trying to grow and manufacture everything they need, countries will focus on what they do best and buy the other items they need from other countries. This is what it means when you hear people talk about the global economy. Each country is dependent on the global economy to get all of the things that they need to move forward in our modern world. Shipping enables global economy. Without ships, barges, trains, and trucks, humans would not be able to share products from one country to another.
That's great to see that you don't always have to work on a boat to be employed in the industry.
Coming up next, we're going to hear from Michael Breslin of Turn Services. Michael has had many different jobs in the industry and will be talking to you about the continuing education programs that most all maritime companies provide.
Hi, I'm Mike Breslin. I've had the opportunity to work in many different positions since I joined the maritime industry. From the deck to the shipyard, and many places in between, this industry has a great host of jobs to offer, as you've just learned. These career options, of course, require a skill set and knowledge base, which brings me to the topic I'm going to talk to you about today, what we call River University. What do I mean by River University? River University is the continuing education that maritime companies offer employees to help them grow from an entry position to the manager of $1 million plus vessel. You already know that you can begin your career with us fresh out of high school. We can offer this to you because of the great certification programs we make available to you as you gain experience. We provide the education you will need to progress at no cost to you. In fact, we pay you to grow and learn. When you start, it's like being a freshman again. As you grow, think of it like moving to sophomore, junior, and senior year. It takes 4 to 6 years to get to the top in our industry. And here's how you can do it. Entry-level training. This is the foundation that you need to understand our industry. It all starts with orientation. Once you've accepted a job offer, the company will schedule you for orientation. This training is not limited to watching a few videos in the Human Resources Department. Sure, that's part of it, but you will also get hands-on experience and face time with veterans and experienced teachers in the maritime industry. Orientation for a deckhand will include instruction in how to build tow, basic diesel mechanics, using tools of the trade, the basics of navigation, personal protective equipment, navigation and communication equipment, and the basics of life on a boat. Does this sound familiar to you from something you heard earlier today? Well, this is a list of duties that you are responsible for as a deckhand. We train you how to do all aspects of your job. We invest in your future because if we hire you, we believe in you. Let's talk about safety and security training, another important aspect of our industry. Does anyone know how national security provides job security for the mariner? Well, think about all the military jobs we talked about earlier. The Coast Guard exists to protect our borders and the commerce that takes place on our rivers and their tributaries. It's not just the military's job to protect us, though. You are going to be in the front line of our defense system when you join the maritime industry. Your TWIC card establishes your place as a transportation worker. Because of laws and regulations, including the TWIC program, all but a very small few of mariners must be United States citizens. This provides job security that may not be afforded in other industries, such as construction or plant work. You'll be trained to identify threats and protect your vessel and facility. As a team, you ensure that your hometown, place of business, remains safe from the threat of terrorism. In addition to security training, our industry takes the lead in safety training. Every single action you take at work should be safe. We make it our mission as an industry to provide the most up-to-date and forward-thinking safety training available. Your safety instruction will include training in subjects including drugs and alcohol regulations. Don't do drugs, like for realsies, no bamboozles. First aid and CPR. You'll likely receive a certification from the Red Cross or American Heart Association. Electrical and fire safety, using a fire hose and preventing fires. Hazardous communications. This is chemical safety and dealing with chemicals in the workplace. Crane and industrial truck safety. You'll be working with industrial trucks, things like bobcats and forklifts, and also massive cranes. Security officer training. This is an advanced class offered to the leaders at facilities or on vessels who provide security. Water survival, just in case. Emergency response. From hurricanes to oil spills, we'll be sure you are ready to tackle any workplace emergency with sure and quick response. Of course, each job is different. We provide specialized skill training to ensure you are an expert in your field. Here's where we get to licensing and credentialing. Piloting a towboat is similar in requirements to piloting an airplane. You'll even use some of the same software. You'll go through simulator training, U.S. Coast Guard approved courses at maritime colleges, pilot development programs on the job, and lots of evaluation by inspectors and designated examiners to be sure you're qualified to be the master of a vessel. This credential makes you a merchant marine, considered its own branch of service, like Army, Navy, Space Force. Crane operation, it's another certification course. It's not just levers and pedals in those big cranes. They are run by computers and highly skilled personnel. Training to operate the largest material moving devices in the world requires dedication and lots of training, all paid for by your employer. Computer programming. Companies don't just buy off-the-shelf software anymore. We design our own programs in-house, developed by our own IT departments. Joining one of these IT teams might involve writing code, or maybe you will be designing robots or testing remote operation software. As we grow, we need young, sharp minds like yours to help us develop and maintain the most innovative and efficient systems in the world. Logistics coordination. The brain of our organizations is the logistics department. Logistics controls every movement, every schedule, staging, and arrangement of ships, boats, barges, and equipment. The logistics department will have remote access to boats and facilities. They'll track live movements using GPS and AIS. They'll communicate with our customers, negotiate contract rates, and generally run the day-to-day operations of our companies. If logistics is the brain, operations is the muscles. Operations managers are the people involved in being sure we have the best employees and the best equipment working in the right place at the right time. They put the big boats on the big tows, the medium crane on the medium ship, and the small bobcat on the small load job. This is an oversimplification for sure, but being in operations management means you are now the person making decisions about how the company will conduct its business. Talk about responsibility. Safety inspectors. These are people that are in place to do the most important job, keeping our employees and environment safe. Safety inspectors split time between the office and the field. If you like problem solving, are good working with people, and you are willing to apply your knowledge to keeping the company safe, this might be for you. Make no mistake about it, if we cut corners or do unsafe actions, we will not be successful. No one wants you to be hurt, and no one wants to damage equipment or the environment. It's a safety inspector's duty to be sure we act in a way that preserves our safety-forward attitude. Surveying is another important part of every marine transfer operation. Surveyors have similar duties as clerks with the additional responsibility of examining ships, barges, structures, and equipment for damage or other issues. Surveyors oversee transfers to be sure the customer receives the amount of product they purchased and that the equipment, like the crane or the boat, are not damaged while moving the product. Welders. Welding is not an easy task. To keep a 400-ton boat floating in the water, that takes a specialized knowledge of welding. It's a challenge charged to our welders each day. The average grain barge weighs 300 tons. That's 600,000 pounds of steel. You can imagine that welding these vessels is a task only a skilled and well-trained person can accomplish. That's a lot of training we just talked about. But as I mentioned before, this is all paid for by your company. Let's think about what that means. If you come to us after receiving your high school diploma and invest 4 to 6 years into your career, you will be trained to qualify for a position that pays nearly $100,000 with no debt. So to talk more about money, let's give it over to the next speaker.
Some of the in-house training that most companies provide can open many doors for someone wanting to move up the ladder.
Let's bring back Mike Breslin again to give us a deeper dive into just how a person can progress through the different careers in the industry.
Hi, I'm Mike Breslin, and I'm here to talk to you about the different jobs the maritime industry offers, and the way you can progress through your career. We've talked a lot about deckhands, so let's start there with an example of a progression timeline from the deck to wherever you want to go. Deckhand is the entry-level position on a vessel or crane. No work experience is required, only a good work ethic and the willingness to learn. Your company will provide you with the knowledge and skills and also pay your salary while you learn. Once you've earned your stripes as a deckhand, you may pursue many different paths to advance your career. I'll give you an overview of some of these opportunities. On the vessel side, you might move from deckhand into a tankerman position. Tankerman has to have at least 6 months of sea time, and it's a U.S. Coast Guard licensed position. You get that license and it qualifies and authorizes you to unload liquid cargoes like fuel or molasses. Your company will often pay you to attend a U.S. Coast Guard certified training program and cover the costs of travel and food. If your aim is to go into the wheelhouse, your next step will be getting your apprentice mate license and working under an experienced captain as a steersman. You will need more sea time to move into this position. Once you have that sea time, you can move into an apprentice mate program that your company runs to train its future captains. Although the training is challenging, your company will provide you with the resources required to accomplish your goal. You will hold watch right beside a fully licensed captain. This is required for the steersman's program, and you will not be allowed to hold your own watch until you progress to pilot. A pilot holds a higher license than a steersman. It's issued by the Coast Guard after you finish your training in the steersman's program that your company provided. As a mate pilot of a towing vessel, you're certified to navigate on the rivers and canals of the United States. You can hold your own watch now, meaning that you don't need to have another captain right by your side. However, an experienced captain will be on the vessel with you during this period, so you can call for help if needed. You'll have more managerial tasks added to your responsibilities in this position as well, preparing you to become a fully licensed captain, which is known as a master. The entry-level job for stevedoring is also deckhand. You're going to be working to support the crane operator who's on top of a giant crane on top of a giant barge. These aren't just simple cranes. They use the most cutting-edge technology to make sure they move cargo efficiently and safely. Without the support of his team, though, that crane operator wouldn't be able to do his job. So being on the deck is a very important position. You're going to be responsible for assisting and preparing the barges that are coming onto the crane for loading or unloading. This may include working with ropes and wires to secure the barges, doing maintenance work, and cover handling. Another entry-level job is a flagger. Flaggers work as a signalman, communicating between those in the barge and the crane operator. Using a set of designated signals, the flagger directs the movement of the crane to get the cargo safely into the hold. As you gain more experience, you may move into other roles, such as equipment operator, driving industrial trucks like a forklift or a bobcat. A draftsman, responsible for measuring how much is being loaded into each barge. Or an oiler, leading the deck crew in maintenance tasks and controlling the movement of barges to and from the crane barge. Beyond the deck, you can rise to the position of a crane operator or ship superintendent, and both of those positions have a healthy benefits package. I hope that you've learned something about the different positions available in the maritime industry, and I look forward to seeing you on the water.
With just a little initiative, a person can go from deckhand to captain in just a matter of years.
To wrap this up, we have a video featuring my partner here, Corey, that will give you some tips on getting and keeping the job.
So you've decided on a job or even a career that strikes your interest, and you're wondering what to do next? Well, let's talk about how to land and keep the job. Today, we're going to go over what to do in preparation, tips that will help you in the interview process, and if you do get hired, you'll need to know how to keep the job. Preparation. First off, you want to assume that you'll be tested for any drugs and alcohol that might be in your system. I strongly suggest that you start practicing for this test way before you fill out the application. Once you're ready to apply, be sure to fill out the entire application. Doing so will show that you have a thorough interest in the job, and it won't make you seem like a slacker. Most companies these days are very reliant on using one's email address to communicate and share documents through. So be sure to use a basic email address using your name or initials. Almost all applications are going to ask you for prior job experience. But what do you do if this is your first job ever? No worries. Everyone has to start somewhere, and don't be afraid to list things like clubs, team sports, or any groups you've been a part of. Even babysitting and volunteer work can be considered as experience. Another thing applications will ask for is references. You want to make sure that your references know that someone may be contacting them. If possible, it's good to use a coworker or a previous supervisor as a reference because they are able to comment on your work ethic as well as your character. Now, if you do all of these things we just mentioned, you just might receive a phone call from the employer. That being said, you want to make sure that you answer the phone as if you're getting the job.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, don't do that. Also, you want to make sure that you state your name in your voicemail message. It's super frustrating when a recruiter doesn't know who they're leaving the message for.
No one is available to take your call. Please leave a message.
Lastly, clean up all of your social media. After all, it is called social media. So if you're publicly making derogatory comments, post, or uploading provocative photos, don't think for a second that a person that's recruiting you can't or won't look in this direction. Now, let's talk about interviewing. Interviewing in itself can be a very unnerving experience. I mean, you're literally there to have a panel of strangers ask you a barrage of questions and make a judgment call from your responses. This could be terrifying. So here are a few tips that will help you be mentally prepared and be able to carry yourself as someone that will make a great addition to their team. First, you want to make sure to get a good night's rest. There's nothing worse than being groggy and uncomfortable while being interviewed. That being said, you also want to wake up at a decent hour and give your mind some time to get ready. Employers really appreciate when a candidate knows a little bit about the company and the position. So take a little time to do some research, and this will help you in the long run. So you've got your rest, you've done your research, and you're ready to answer any question they throw at you. Well, not so fast. Interviewers aren't rating you by your responses only. Your appearance and your body language is a large factor in their decision making. Now, you don't necessarily need to show up in a suit and tie, but you don't want to show up like you just barely gotten out of bed. Khakis and a polo or business casual will work just fine. Nowadays, with everything going virtual, you may do an interview via video chat, but most interviews will be done in person. If you were doing an in-person interview, make sure to shake hands using a firm grip and shake hands with everyone in the room, beginning with the person nearest you. You want to make eye contact, smile, sit upright, and answer all questions in complete sentences and answer them truthfully. Once the interview is done, ask questions. By asking questions, it shows you have a true interest in the position, and most employers love talking about what they do. While most of these tips apply, here are some things that are good to know that will help you with a virtual interview. You want to make sure that you're seated in a quiet area, and if you're using a phone or a laptop for the interview, don't try to hold it in your hand. Set the phone or laptop on a sturdy surface to prevent any shakiness. Since you're on camera, in your own environment, make sure that you have a decent background in place. If your background looks like you're hosting a party, that may not go over too well. Lastly, don't hesitate to send a thank you note to your interviewers, letting them know you appreciate their time. Now, some tips on keeping the job. First up, safety. It's extremely important to remain safe while at the workplace and to wear your personal protective equipment or PPE. It can save your life. Secondly, be on time. Most of the jobs in the maritime industry run 24/7, and you may have a direct relief that's depending on you. Just as you want your relief to show up on time, you need to do the same for the person you're relieving. Whether working on a vessel in tight quarters or in a cubicle in an office building, you always want to treat people the way you want to be treated. And keep in mind that if you do change departments or transfer boats, every manager leads differently. So be agile and accept the change as it comes your way. One of the biggest tips in this segment is communication. Communicating with your coworkers and managers is key to keeping your job. Always let them know of any issues you may have or any safety concerns that you run across. If you do want to work on a vessel, remember that you will be living where you work. So keep the place neat and tidy, including your personal areas, common areas, and bathrooms. Listen, scrubbing toilets isn't the best job, but I can guarantee that your captain had to do it when he or she first started. As we said earlier, drug testing will happen when you get employed, but for most safety-sensitive positions, you will get randomly tested as well. And if you were to fail a drug test, you'll never be able to work at a DOT-compliant company, ever. Last but not least, be a sponge. Learn, ask questions, and always be open to improvement. Thank you, and happy job hunting.
That was a great video from Riverworks Discovery. We will now shift over to the employer panel led by our own Talent Pipeline Project Manager, Brittany Dawson.
Thanks, Harper.
Panelists could please add your video and I will make sure you all are able to be seen. Thanks.
All right, just going to give everybody a minute to get their cameras on and make sure you're unmuted so you can answer questions for us. Do want to go around and do introductions first. So thoroughly appreciate these industry experts being on with us today. I see everybody joining us right now. And if you are in the audience, if you have questions for our panelists, you can submit those through the chat and we can try and get those answered for you as well. All right, so I see Erin, she's on live with us. She was in our video as one of the narrators there. So Erin, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Erin Howard. I direct the Riverworks Discovery Program. And what I really love about my job is all the people from around the country in the river industry that I get to work with. The people in this industry are amazing. It's like a family. And I get to help them share the stories of the amazing opportunities that you can have in this industry, starting from an entry-level position and working your way up to someday the president of a company. I know presidents of companies personally who got their start as a deckhand on the river. And that's what another thing I really love about this industry is you can start at the bottom and work your way up.
That's the best way to know the industry as well. So I love that take on it. Randy, I see you on. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Randy Bowling. I'm with Crounce Corporation. I've been here for 36 years. My position is a port captain. I manage or help manage 12 boats out of this division. And we have 9 boats out of our Maysville division that our other port captain manages, and we work together on all of that. But been doing this a long time, and I'm so thankful that I've had the opportunity that I've had in this industry. It's given me a good livelihood and definitely made me a stronger person over the years, that's for sure.
That's great. I love that you bring all that knowledge to the table too. I'm sure you have a lot of coworkers that look up to your experience. Taylor, I see you're on. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. I'm Taylor Chandler. I work at Ingram Barge Company. I'm a talent partner, so I handle and manage all of the marine recruiting, deckhands, cooks, and wheelhouse. And then I also focus on retention and how we keep people in the marine industry and finding career paths for them, whether that's in the wheelhouse or down in the engine room.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here this morning. Valerie, I see you're on as well. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, Valerie Caulfield with Marquette Transportation. I have a job very similar to Taylor's as well. I focus on recruiting and retention. My partner has just stepped out, but I'll introduce him for him. He is a training mate. He started out on deck with Marquette and has also worked his way up the ranks, and now he's working in the office as one of our training mates. So he'll be interesting for questions for you guys.
Awesome. Thank you for inviting everybody to attend today. Thanks for being here. Then Jeremy, I see you're on as well. Would you care to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello, my name is Jeremy Tardy. I'm a port captain with Western Rivers Boat Management here in Paducah, Kentucky. Started out as a deckhand 20 years ago and worked my way like Captain Randy up to the pilot house. And I've been in shoreside management now for a little over 7 years. Started, when I was in high school, all my friends were taking their ACTs and SATs and getting ready for college. Knew knew what they wanted to do with their lives. And I didn't. So a friend of mine who worked on a boat nearby, he offered me an opportunity as a deckhand, and I took it. And probably within the first week, I knew that this was what I wanted to do. And it's been a really rewarding career. It's been a really fantastic way to meet some good folks, build camaraderie, and make a good living for my family. So welcome to any questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeremy. I do have one question from the chat. I'm going to direct this one to Taylor and Valerie. Since you guys kind of touch all the careers in the industry, can you give us some guidance on what the culinary careers might look like, what the pay might be, and how you recruit for those?
Sorry, I couldn't find my unmute button.
You're fine.
Yeah, so those careers, how we recruit for those is pretty similar to how we do our deckhands. There's not really any kind of special skills other than just having, for Ingram, just having some cooking experience. When we do interviews for cooks, we ask them to come to the interview prepared with a sample menu so we can see that they have budgeting skills and that they know how to meal prep and meal plan. But other than that, really the only requirement for Ingram for a cook is a high school diploma and a driver's license.
Okay.
For Ingram, this pay scale can range anywhere from a cook 1, which we do start out at $220, and then we do go all the way up to what is called a special events cook, and that's the highest paid cook on our vessels, and those go up to around the $275 to $280 a day range. But there's several levels in between getting from point A to point B on those. Yep, that's all I have on that.
Okay. What are some of the things that the people on the boats prefer on their menu? Do you know what they like the best to eat?
I would say fish Friday, steak, and fried chicken.
Hey, I like all those too.
Yeah, pretty much like your home cooking. They really like to, gone for 28 days at a time. So have food that reminds them of being at home and things that are going to keep them full, while they're out there working.
Right. They're working really hard, so they need their bellies full while they're on the boat for sure. Sounds good. Valerie, do you have any guidance on the cook careers for you all?
No, I think that's industry-wide. Everybody knows that fish is on Friday and steak day is Saturday, and everybody loves to eat good when they're on the boat.
I love that. I need to come visit.
Yeah, everybody loves to go to the boat to eat from shoreside positions because it's always really great food.
It sounds like it. And I've actually heard that some of the experience that people bring is just like cooking for a larger family, or maybe even at their church, like if they help out with potlucks and things, that a lot of times that kind of experience that they've had in real life kind of translate to cooking for a crowd on the boat, because you've got to make large amounts of food to feed everybody. So awesome. Well, thank you guys. I want to direct this to Jeremy and Randy, since they've kind of started from the deckhand position and built in their careers over the years. What's some advice that you could give to people who are thinking about starting out in the industry? What do you wish you had known when you first started out?
I'll go first here. I wished I would have paid a lot more attention when I was in school. One thing that I can go back to is when I started out on the boats, there were no computers. Nobody had a computer on a boat. Well, in my high school years, we never had a computer in high school. You had typing. You had typing classes, and when I had typing at that time, I was just trying to get through it. And now, in the world we live in, you've got a keyboard in front of you at all times, whether you're in the office or you're on the boat. And I wished I would have really paid a lot more attention to those typing classes I had, and also, as a young man growing up, what our educational process was teachers making sure you had a good handwriting, because we used to write everything down. You want to have a legible handwriting that people could read, and I did master that quite a bit. My handwriting's pretty decent, but that was one thing that I really wish I'd paid a lot more attention to, is when I was growing up and as a young person, I paid a lot more attention to my education. In this job, you need to have a pretty concept of your English. You need to know some basic math. and definitely need to know how to operate a keyboard.
Yeah. Well, and I think the more technology we use, it's more important that we have those communication skills where we type emails and hop on Zoom chats and things like that. We have to be able to not just speak, but use those writing skills as well. So that's really good advice. Thank you. Jeremy, how about you? Anything that you would tell your younger self now that you've been in the industry for 20 years?
Yeah. I wish, I was blessed with some parents that always had my laundry done. And so when I first got on the boat as a teenager, and of course the washing machine and dryers they're provided, and of course all the things you need. Well, I wanted to make sure my clothes were really clean, so I wore some bleached out clothes my entire first trip. And learned that one the hard way, and I earned a couple nicknames over that too. And when I started, cell phones were not very common. And during that time, if you did have a cell phone, I'm probably talking over some younger people's head, but there were roaming charges. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't know how to cook either. And I was on a boat without a cook. And I wanted to impress my crew members by helping take some of that load. And so I was on the phone with my mom or whoever trying to get recipes. And, I messed up a few meals and ruined some groceries at first, but and then I had to pay roaming charges because of it. So, I would have paid more attention to how to take care of my laundry, because when you're on the boat, you have to do your laundry. And so those are just some real soft skills that if you're thinking about a career on the river, you should probably try to get some practice on before you get on a boat. Or if you do get on a boat, ask questions instead of trying to do it yourself and messing things up like I did.
Gotcha. That's really good advice. I have to thank my mom. She had me doing laundry when I was 12. Basically, as soon as I could reach the washing machine, I was doing my own laundry. So she was not a stay-at-home mom, so she needed some help from us. Valerie, I'm going to pass it over to you guys. I see that your training mate is back there. If you want to introduce him and see if he's got any advice for people starting out in the industry.
Sure, I'll let him take it.
How's everybody doing? My name's Patrick Davis. I started as a green deckhand trainee. I had no experience. I've got over 3 years with the company now. And my advice for anybody that's starting out or wants to start out is definitely just come with, good work ethic, and you can move up very quickly in the career. There's a lot of opportunities out here, and I highly advise everybody to definitely try out the maritime career. And if you do go, there's a good saying on the river, and it's wear out your first pair of boots. And I definitely advise that. It's a great industry for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Patrick. So you're a training mate now. What does your day-to-day look like in that position?
Currently, I am handling all new hire orientations with Marquette. And I do confined space entry training as well to make sure the guys are certified in using our gas meters, our calibration sniffers and whatnot to do the job safely. As well as that, I'm in charge of the rigging pool for Marquette, and then I also come in on crew changes and help out wherever I can at the office. But
awesome.
I a lot of boats and train a lot of mates and train a lot of guys at the office.
Well, thank you so much for being on. It sounds like you're a busy guy, so appreciate it. We did have another question in the chat. I know usually on the river, the runs are about 28 days at a time. So if you're not on the waterway, what do you do when you're not on the boat? So that could go to Patrick, Jeremy, Randy. What do you guys do in your spare time? And how long are you normally on the boat in a year?
Well, my spare time when I was riding the boats, when I was off, I had about 15 acres that I lived on at that time. And of course, keeping the property up, bush hogging, just keeping the place up, doing some hunting. I used to have a big dove hunt every year. I did do some deer hunting back at one time. I got out of that, but fished, rode four-wheelers. There's all the time. I come from a river town. Guys were always off the boat. At one time, all of us had horses. We rode horseback. We had trail rides. So we was always doing something, that would mostly outdoors that would keep us busy. And Uh, but as a young person who loves the outdoors and loves to hunt and fish and just be an outdoorsman, hike. I know a lot of people are getting into hiking now, bike riding and that kind of stuff. This is a great job to do that because you have that time off. And that's one thing I miss now coming to work every day is that time off that you had previously. We in this job that I have now, you don't get any time off. And that's one thing that when I first started doing this, I worked in here like 6 months and I go, okay, when am I going to get any time off? Because I've been used to getting that time off.
You got
But
spoiled, didn't you?
I did get spoiled. And in our system, we worked 3 weeks on and 3 weeks off. We're a little bit different than some of the other companies. And but I know in our hiring process that we have better luck out of people that's more outdoor, loves the outdoors more than people that are, I'd say, more indoor type person. And that's what we've noticed over the years. They have 3 or 4 things in common: hunting, fishing, riding 4-wheelers, hiking, those type things that people really get into.
Well, I can see where that would really encourage the teamwork on the boat too. If you guys are enjoying time in the outdoors together when you're not working, that really creates good relationships while you're on the boat together, kind of in captivity for those 28 days at a time. So that's great advice. Jeremy, how about you? What do you do for fun?
Well, I would just add, and we had the same interest as far as, being outdoors when possible. And also, I miss my time off too. But, the really good thing that I always enjoyed about working on a boat, you think, my gosh, I have to be away from all my family and friends and everything for a month at a time. But on the flip side of that, when you're home, you are completely home. You have the time to catch up with everyone. You have the time to dive into your hobbies and your interests and maybe even learn new ones. Mm-hmm. And that's a really good. And then later on in life, when I started having a family, the days away from the family were not always fun, but the good thing is when you're home, you're completely home. And today, you go to work and you go home and you got a few hours to do this or that, and you got to go to bed and do it again the next day. But the beauty of working on a boat is you get your work out of the way and you go home and you can devote all of your time into your family, your interests, your hobbies. And it's a good way of life. It becomes a routine. And then when you leave the boats and come shoreside, you sure do miss that time off.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Patrick, how about you? Do you have any what is your job now? Are you is it more full-time? Are you shoreside or boatside, or how does that work?
I am in a unique position here. I'm kind of both. So recently we've had a increase in new hires. So I've been in the office more shoreside, but during that time, anytime I have time in between classes or anything like that, I actually do get on boats as well still. So had a little bit of both, but I definitely miss the time off. I miss the boats at times for sure. I've got 4 small children at home.
Oh, wow.
Yes, ma'am. When you're working, I tell everybody that, when you're at work, just like they said, you're living at your job, you're learning as you go. It's all on the job training. It's an awesome experience. And whenever you're off, your time is fully off. You don't have to worry about getting phone calls to do this or this. You don't have to wake up early and, you're off for a whole 2 weeks here. And it's an awesome industry for sure. It's very unique, but I miss the time off as well.
So you don't have time for hobbies with 4 little kids at home. You're on dad duty when you're home, right?
Yes, ma'am. Whatever their hobbies are is what my hobbies are.
I gotcha. Yeah. Kiddo time. I understand that. That's awesome. So that kind of flows into our next question, just talking about the secret to success as far as balancing home life and work life. When you are out on the boat, you guys have kind of touched on that already, but how do you kind of manage being away from your family, but then also being back home? I hear some answers in there, but I guess you get used to being on that schedule. But are there any like tips of the trade that you would share? I'll direct that one to Patrick too.
When you're at work, I would definitely say, you're gonna miss your home time, you're gonna miss your kids and your family at home or whatever you have going on. But the time home is uninterrupted. So, you get a full 2 weeks, like I said, to just zone in on family time. And my kids now, they've gotten smart with them growing up, and they actually prefer me being on a boat during the holidays because they know they have a Christmas whenever I'm gone. And when Daddy gets back, we have another Christmas. So you definitely, everybody adapts. It's definitely a team effort with your family and everything. So it's, but like I said, they definitely adapted well.
I mean, who can argue with 2 Christmases? I'll take that. Sounds pretty good. Jeremy, any advice you'd give on balancing the home and work life?
Yeah, I mean, before I had a family, I guess there was no balance because it was just me, and I could do whatever I wanted to do. I'd get off the boat and hop on a 4-wheeler and hit the mountains and just do whatever. But as a start of the family, it definitely takes teamwork between you and your spouse, and you have to have someone who's prepared for getting into a relationship with someone that works, gone, 6 months or more of the year. And as long as you have that mutual understanding that we're going to do this together, and it just takes a lot of teamwork, and it's really hard to balance when there's not that teamwork. And but like Patrick said, a lot of the folks and even me when I was on boats, when come Christmas time, and the kids knew that they could have another Christmas when I got home, or we could schedule a little early and they could get some gifts before I went to work. That always seemed to work well too.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know of any kids that would turn down extra gifts or early gifts. I was always trying to convince my parents to let me open my gifts early too. So Taylor and Valerie, I'm going to direct this one towards you all. What is the outlook for the industry as far as growth and jobs for the future? I know we have a range of kids on the call that are in middle school and high school. What's it going to look like in 5 to 10 years if they're looking for jobs? Taylor, I'll let you take that one first. Just got to unmute. There you go. You're fine.
Yeah, so I don't see our industry going anywhere. I mean, we just continually grow. We've just built here at Ingram, I think it was 2 new vessels or 3 this year, and there's more in the works. I don't see the industry going anywhere. Like I said, we just continue to grow. So I say for these kids, in 5 to 10 years when they're graduating and starting to look at career and industries and careers that they want to go into, I still see us all being here and booming and ready to take on new hires. And in 10 years for them, I don't know what grades they're in now, but just say they're 8th graders. In 10 years they could very well be in the wheelhouse or be in the engineering making those 6-figure salaries. So I don't see us going anywhere. I just see us as an industry getting bigger and bigger. So I'll pass to Valerie and see if she has anything to add to that.
Thanks, Taylor.
Marquette's similar. We've grown so much even over the last 3 years, 5 years, and especially over the last 10. And I think it's only going to continue to follow that same trend. The river industry, I fully believe, is here to stay. Not only are we growing on our vessel side of things, we're also growing shore side. We're bringing people in from our vessel side of our business into our shore side. We're growing our office employees. We've got 2 other locations, one in Louisiana and one in Texas, that are also growing. I think it's just kind of a booming business right now.
Good to know. What advice, Valerie, I'm going to let you stay unmuted, but what advice would you give kids right now as they're in school? What should they be focused on if they're interested in this industry?
I always tell our new hires in our class, you guys aren't going to be the first new guys out there. Don't be nervous, don't be intimidated, and don't be afraid to try something new. To not focus so much on the things that you don't know maybe about the industry, but to focus on the things that you do know. When you're out on a boat living with 9 other individuals or 10 or 8 or however many is on your boat, personality is a big thing. So think about not being a miserable person to live with. Think about keeping your quarters clean and picking up after yourself. Proper hygiene, all of those things go a long way when you're first starting out. And it kind of helps to catch people's eye and helps you to get promoted faster versus going out there and maybe pretending to know things that you definitely don't know, because that gets on people's nerves.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, and learn how to do your laundry. That's been one I've taken away from this as well. So, Taylor, how about you? Any advice you would give on the folks on the video that are interested in the careers?
Yeah, pretty much everything Valerie said. And just a big thing is being able to listen and receive instruction. The mates they're not out to get you or, steer you wrong. They really want to teach you. They've been out there, for years. So as you come in, just be able to receive feedback and, listen well and take, orders and direction, and that'll really help you and you'll go really far if you're able to do that. And then, like you said, being able to do laundry is a big thing, and just being self-sufficient. You would be surprised how many 19, 20-year-olds come in and have no idea what their social security number is, or don't even know, how to fill out a W-4 or W-2. So just being somewhat self-sufficient and knowing that mom and dad can't always help you, especially when you're stuck on a boat in the middle of the river for 28 days, mom and dad can't be there for you. So just being self-sufficient is a really big thing.
Well, thank goodness for technology that we don't have to pay those roaming charges anymore, like Jeremy and I dealt with when we were per fee, per text message, like it was when I was in college. So,
and to add to that, if you don't mind me jumping in,
sure.
About the balancing home and work, I thought about this after I went off mute. With today's technology and the ability to FaceTime and Zoom like we are here today, these things weren't around when I started, and I've seen that it does cause a lot more cohesiveness on the boat when the crew members are able to keep in touch and FaceTime with the kids and ask about their day, or even when they're off watch, they might be able to FaceTime at the kids' ball game or something. And so technology has allowed towboaters to stay much more in touch with family and balance that home and work life a lot better today than ever before, as long as it's used safely and it doesn't become a distraction at work. It can be a very valuable resource in staying connected with home.
That's a great point. And do you guys have Wi-Fi on the boats?
A lot of boats do, but everyone has a cell phone plan, and most of everything is unlimited now, so it works out well for everyone. I don't know of anyone, I can't think of anyone who doesn't have a smartphone today that's not able to stay in touch with family. So
awesome. Thank you. Well, we are about to wrap it up, so I'm going to just take closing words from anybody who'd like to say anything else. I'll go around. Let's see. Randy, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I was going to go back to what Jeremy was talking about there. Jeremy can relate to what I'm fixing to say. When I first started on the boats, the only way you called home was climb a lock wall. And at that time, you could climb a lock wall, and they'd have pay phones on the lock wall, and you might get to talk 5 minutes if they were home. If something happened, they weren't home, you just have to wait till the next week. So things has changed as far as communication and staying in touch with your families. Completely different than the way it was when I first started years and years ago. Now, even the last 10 years, it's changed so much. When I first came off the boats, you didn't have all this FaceTime stuff. You could call home every day or as many times as you wanted to during the day. But, now you have all this communication. I've seen parents, videoing their kids' ball games and sitting there being able to watch it. And
yeah,
it's completely different than it was a few years ago. And sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad. Sometimes people think about how much they're missing but not being there.
Right.
But it is a way to stay connected, and I would give anything if I'd had this when my kids were small growing up.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did miss a lot, and but I got to take in a lot too. by
Well, and it
the
sounds
schedule
like
I
for
was working.
everybody, yeah, it sounds like it's provided a great lifestyle, and obviously, you guys have stuck with it for quite a long time. So there's something to be said for being part of an industry for 36 years. That's incredible. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Thank you to our panelists for being here and giving us their insights. I'm going to pass it back over to Harper now to close us out. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Brittany, and thank you all so much for participating today. That was a great panel. I'm actually going to kick it over to our other TPM project manager, Zach Gobert, to wrap us up, but thank you all again for tuning in, and we hope you all learned something new today. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Harper, and thanks everyone for attending today, and thanks to all of our great panelists. I put a QR code up on the screen, and if you all wouldn't mind to scan that in to complete our post-event survey. We really value your feedback to make these sessions as enjoyable and informational as possible. And we hope you all sign up to participate with us again at our next session on November 3rd. Be sure to check out the contest that Harper mentioned earlier and participate in those monthly starting in November. Thank you all so much and have a great day.